Hello, I'm Christina Marlette, creator of Courageous Self-Care. I love to help women go from running on empty, overwhelmed, stressed out, exhausted, to renewable energy, where we get to give from the overflow rather than from exhaustion and bitterness and resentment. And I love to do that through practices of courageous self-care. So it's self-care that goes beyond bubble baths, chocolate, and wine. Today, we're talking about taking radical responsibility for your happiness, for your self-care. And what I want to get into today is, taking radical responsibility for your own happiness. Why would you want to do that? If you're always putting off your happiness or expecting other people to make you happy, you are always, and I don't say that word lightly, always going to be disappointed and continuing to run on empty. Taking responsibility for your own happiness means filling yourself up first. And I have some specific practices that I'm going to share with you about that. Now, if you're always saying, I will be happy when this happens, I'll be happy when I have my dream job, I'll be happy when I'm living in the perfect house, I'll be happy when I have a relationship where I feel cherished, honored, and loved, I'll be happy when I have kids, I'll be happy when my kids leave. These statements and beliefs are prolonging your happiness, and you're missing out on being happy now. Often, when we are giving and nurturing for other people, we give so much that we forget what it was that actually filled us up in the first place. And I went through that myself. Shortly after, a couple of years after I had kids, I learned that it was important to put my own well-being back at the top of my list. Otherwise, everyone would suffer. So I went through an exercise. I tried to remember what it was that I loved to do. And what I realized was that I had forgotten. I had to go back to my childhood and figure out what made me happy. And it took a while to figure out what it was that filled me up. And I still continue to find surprising things that fill me up and make me feel really happy now. I don't have to wait for someday. I can be happy today as long as I am doing it consciously with awareness, putting myself first. Does that mean I ignore the people in my life? No, it means what happens is that I maximize my time and my relationships with them because I get to give from a place of fullness. So would you like to know how to do that? Yay, I'm excited to share it with you. So the first step is to know what makes you happy. I have a tool that I've created just for that purpose because I run into a lot of women who say, I don't actually remember what it is that makes me happy. So I have this memory jogger, and you can download it for free today in the Self-Care Action Guide. Now, what this is, all you do is print this off, and then you give yourself 10 minutes, and you go through and circle the things on here that you love to do. If one of the ideas on here isn't quite right, but it reminds you of something you love to do, then you write that down. So you spend a few minutes doing this memory jogger to help you remember what it is that makes you happy. And it doesn't have to be what other people say will make you happy. You will get lots of advice from the media, from well-meaning friends, from family. These are the things that I do that I think you should do because they really help me. So for example, I have tried yoga. I've tried all different kinds of yoga. It does not fill me up. I do not feel happy while I'm doing it, nor do I feel happy after I'm doing it. In fact, my body has let me know on multiple occasions that yoga is not for me at this time in my life. I keep getting injured. And how do you get injured during doing yoga? Even I just cut it down to sun salutations, and I got such a bad pain in my hip I could barely walk. So yoga is not for me. It's not something that fills me up. For someone else, it will be exactly what they love. They love the experience of it. They love how they feel afterwards. So you get to decide for yourself. It might be completely different from what you have heard is self-care, but as long as it either makes you feel wonderful while you're doing it or it makes you feel really good afterwards, like meditation. I don't love to meditate, but I do love what it does for me afterwards. So I do consider that a self-care practice for me. So that's what you do first. You download the self-care action guide, you get the memory jogger, you print it off, and you circle what resonates with you. Then the other part of the self-care action guide is this sheet, and this is my top 10 happiness-inducing activities. So you take what you discovered on here, you figure out your top 10, and you fill them in. And then you post this somewhere where you will see it so that you are reminded on a regular basis to put your well-being at the top of your priority list, because no one else can take care of you. You must do it for yourself. And then the ripple effect is that when you are feeling happy throughout the day, more happy situations are going to come to you, because happiness has a frequency. It has a vibration. And the more that you are taking time to feel that on a regular basis, the more of it will come to you. And that is renewable energy, my friends. That's where it comes from. It's not that you drink coffee. It's not even eating the best foods. It's not even about sleep. It is about bringing into your experience what you want more of. Have it now. We can make it happen in the present. So on my list, for example, I love to read. So I put that on my list. And then most days, I will make sure that I read because I love doing it. It makes me happy afterwards. It just fills me up. And if I'm not doing that, then I do something else on my list. Some of them are things that are only great in the summer, like, oh, I don't think I have that on here anymore. Oh yeah, going for a hike in the mountains. So I also have a different list for the winter, because here in Calgary it's snowy and cold, and hiking in the mountains during winter is not something that fills me up. So some things are occasional things on here. Some things are things that I do every day, or make sure that I do at least on a more regular basis. And if you make a mistake on that list, no problem. Just cross it off. You thought it was something that brought you joy and filled you up, but it didn't. Then cross it off and put something in. You'll have your memory jogger. Now, the third step, so you download it, you do the memory jogger, you write down your top 10 happiness-inducing activities. The third step is to actually schedule those in. So there are two ways that you can do that I recommend based on my own personal experience. So number one is schedule in a chunk of time each day so that you know that you can count on feeling happy for at least 10 minutes, 15 minutes, or however long that activity takes you every day. And go so far as to put it into your calendar. I love my calendar on my phone. I use it all the time. So prioritize your well-being by making sure that you put it in your calendar. Or if you have a wall calendar or a day timer, put it in there. It is so important to take that action step to make it happen. And that time becomes sacred. It's not, oh, I have to do this instead, so cross off that self-care. No, that is precious. That is the top priority. And here's a little tip. Your motivation to do things that are challenging is highest in the morning. So do your self-care first thing as much as you can. Now, the second recommendation I have around making it happen in your calendar is to take one day or a chunk of one day once a month and do a time cleanse. So if you've ever done a food cleanse, you're only filling your body up with foods that support you at the highest nutritional level possible, getting rid of all the junk. So I created the practice of a time cleanse, and that is a chunk of a day, or if possible, a whole day, or even a weekend. I did that this month, and boy, did it make the rest of my week amazing, is to only do things on your list. And the purpose of doing that is to cut out all the extraneous stuff. So my husband actually took my kids camping, and I decided it was a great time for a time cleanse. I did only stuff from my list, and I did some laundry, which is not on my list, but it was okay. I permitted that for myself. And I have to tell you, when my kids and my husband got back from their weekend away, my energy was so high. My ability to give and to love and to nourish, my patience, it lasted all week because I took that time to fill up my own cup first and to make sure that it was not just full, but that it was actually overflowing. So those are the 2 different ways to use your top 10 happiness inducing list. Number 1, take one thing off of there and make sure it's a daily practice. Number 2, once a month, take as much time as you can. Maybe it's an hour. Maybe you trade time care with some other mom who's going to do a time cleanse. Maybe you schedule out an afternoon when you know you can do that. Maybe it's a whole day, maybe it's a weekend. But this is so that you are able to give with love when the time cleanse stops. This is courageous self-care. Does it take courage to take a whole hour for yourself, or a whole afternoon, or a whole weekend? Yes. It takes courage to overcome the mind chatter that goes along with it, but it is so worthwhile. That's what I've experienced anyways, as have my clients. And you might be surprised at what actually turns out to be self-care for you. One thing I just discovered recently is that I painted my nails, and every time I looked at them, I got so happy. So I did it yesterday. I realized this is high enough to be on my top 10 list. I don't particularly love painting my nails nor waiting for them to dry, but when I do have my nails painted, I love looking at them. It makes me so happy. So you will open up this beautiful realm of possibility where you get to experiment and be curious about what it is that makes you feel full, nourished, and nurtured. You can give that to yourself. You must give that to yourself so that you can be able to give it to others. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I hope this was helpful. Be sure to go out and practice some courageous self-care, and a great first action step is to download the self-care action guide. You can get it on my website, courageousself-care.com, and it will also be in the links to this video. Thanks for watching. I will see you again soon. Go out and practice that courageous self-care.